All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome back for day two. We'll give everybody just a minute or two to log in here before we actually jump in. All right. As you are logging in, if you would, go ahead and show me a little bit of love. Ping me in the comments. Let me know that you're here. Would love to know your name, where you're from, if you're in Michigan or some other state, as well as if you're a Young Living member. Would be awesome to know. Also, as you're logging in, take a moment and just like the video if you would. If you enjoyed last night's class, show me a little bit of love that way as well. So we've got a few viewers on already. We'll just hang out here for about another 10 seconds or so while people log in. We did have, for those of you that are here, obviously got the notes, but I wasn't planning on being here tonight. Was going to go to a class myself, but decided to, hi Mike, decided to change my plans a little bit and stayed home so I could join you and talk a little bit about essential oils. So really excited to be here. Alrighty, so as people are joining in, and again, if you're just joining us, would love for you to show me a little bit of love. Punch in a comment, let me know that you're here, where you're from, if you're a Young Living member or not, and be sure to like the video, show me a little bit of love that way. So wanted to do a few touch-up items on what we covered last night. So yesterday we were talking about peppermint and some of its wonderful uses and that kind of stuff. Got a lot of great comments as we were going through that. Hi, Elizabeth, welcome. Wanted to touch on a couple of things, though, that I forgot to mention last night. So the first thing is this. When you're using essential oils, whether it's peppermint or other oils, you want to make sure that, hi, Jill, welcome. Make sure that you're using glass or metal. Especially if you're mixing it for a drink or something like that, do not use plastic, do not use styrofoam. These oils are very potent. Hi, Kim, welcome. They can actually really do some damage as well. So if you put these oils in plastic or in styrofoam, what's going to happen is it's going to cause those compounds to release toxins into your drink, and now you're going to be drinking stuff that you really don't want. And so just be really careful with that. Our strong recommendation is to always use glass or metal. If you've got a normal ceramic coffee cup, that should be okay as well. Just stay away from the plastic and the styrofoam. The other thing I wanted to mention with regard to peppermint specifically, hi Heather, your video isn't working. Gosh, I'm not sure what to tell you. Maybe refresh the page or log back out and log back in, see if that might help you. But with peppermint, I mentioned that you want to be careful around your eyes and your ears. But beyond being careful around your eyes and your ears, I've learned you also need to be really careful with peppermint, very specifically across your forehead, which is some of your sinuses, as well as across your nose. Hi, Stephanie, welcome. The reason for this is peppermint, and I'm not exactly sure why this happens, but I've experienced this, and a couple of other people I've talked to have experienced this. When you put peppermint on your sinuses, so across your nose and your forehead, it can actually cause nosebleeds. So about a year and a half ago or so, I was on my way to Birch Run, was meeting somebody. I had put some peppermint on to kind of loosen my sinuses up a little bit, and we were just pulling in, and all of a sudden I just got this incredible nosebleed. I mean, it wasn't major, we got it under control really quickly, but the only thing we could think of was it had to have been the peppermint. And I've talked to a few other people who've experienced the same thing. So as you're using peppermint, be sure to just be really careful with it. Keep it away from the sensitive areas of your face, and actually your nose is a pretty sensitive area. So that's it for the touch up on the peppermint. So tonight, I've got my cards again so I don't forget stuff. Tonight we're going to talk about luscious lavender. And I just have to start by saying lavender was really some of how we got started with oils in the Decker household. And so we love it. We use it all the time. In fact, when we first got our starter kit, my wife, she anytime something happened, you get a little ding, little bruise, whatever. My wife, hey, let's go get the lavender. Let's put that on there, and it works. It's amazing what lavender can be used for. So lavender has a couple of chemical compounds in it that I wanted to touch on. Just make sure that you know what's in it, and encourage you again to go do some more research to find out what the health benefits of these chemical compounds are. The first thing is lavender has phenols in it. And so phenols with a pH at the beginning, these are really good for our bodies. I can tell you one thing, phenols do commonly have an antioxidant type of effect in our system. There's a lot of other things that many people have linked them to, and so go out and do a little bit of research. Find out, what do phenols do for our health and our wellness. But then the other thing is D-limonene. So last night we talked about the L-limonene. D-limonene is kind of a sister compound to L-limonene, and D-limonene is really good actually for digestion, for detoxification, to help support a healthy metabolism. So there's a lot of good things that D-limonene does. So make sure to go do a little bit of research. Find out what's in these compounds that are in the oils that we're using. So what is it, though, with these great compounds in it that lavender can be used for? And in case you're wondering, that is the lavender right there. This is a normal bottle of lavender. Lavender does come from Young Living in both the normal version as well as the Vitality. And so just a reminder, the Vitality line is the same great oil, but it has been approved by the FDA for consumption, so you can use it in cooking and in baking and all sorts of things like that. You can eat it and get the health benefits from that as well. So lots of things that lavender can be used for. Now, a lot of us have probably experienced lavender in some way, shape, or form. I know when we had our first son, we got all sorts of, bath lotions and washes and shampoos and all of that kind of stuff that had lavender in it. And I actually was very skeptical of lavender when we first got involved with Young Living because of this reason. After we bought all that stuff for my son, we started doing some research, and we found out that what we read is that lavender can actually cause boys to have sterility problems later in life. And so when my wife came home and she had this starter kit and I saw lavender, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? And we did a little bit of research, and what we found out is what actually causes those problems is the artificial and synthetic compounds that are in lavender, like flavorings, if you will, lavender scents, but aren't natural and pure lavender oil extract. And so when you go with a pure essential oil like what Young Living puts out, hi Amanda, welcome, you don't have some of the same concerns that you do when you get a synthetic or artificial lavender from the store, whether it's a lavender flavored candle, lavender flavored, wash, shampoo, or even a lavender oil from the store. You want to be really careful of the oils that you buy, because not all of them have the same quality that Young Living does. Side note, from the lavender for just a minute, legally for an oils company to label their product as pure, it only actually has to be 2% pure is what we would think about it. The rest of it can be synthetic, it can be fillers, those kinds of things. I don't know about you, but in my family, when I get something that says pure, I want to make sure it's pure. And so we talked a little bit last night about the seed to seal guarantee that Young Living has. They want their users to know there is nothing else in their oils except for the oil that it's stating is there. And so they go through all of these tests to demonstrate that. In fact, recently we saw a case where somebody was really slamming Young Living on Facebook and stating that a very specific batch of, I actually think it was lavender, contained artificial or synthetic oils. And so they took some samplings of that batch, sent it out to a third-party lab, and had it tested and brought it back and published it, and it turns out that there was nothing synthetic in it. This is the kind of integrity that Young Living has. That's why I love working with them, because they want to make sure that we, the users, have the best product to help our families be healthy, to help support our wellness in so many different ways. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of information there about why this is so important. So back to lavender. lavender? What can it be used for? So it's in all these different products. The reason why is because lavender has been known widely to really help with relaxation. And if you love lavender, you think it helps relax you, but you've never tried pure therapeutic grade lavender, I'm telling you, you got to try this stuff, because the candles and stuff is great. It smells wonderful, but this stuff, it is fantastic. When we first got our oils, this was one of the oils that every night our kids went to bed, we pulled out the lavender, we lathered it on them, and we stuck them to bed, and they just went right out. I mean, it was, for anybody who has problems with getting kids to go to sleep, I'm telling you, lavender works wonderfully, as well as some other oils that we will end up talking about later on in this series. But aside from the relaxation part, it has so many other benefits, so many other things that it can do for you as well. So one of the things that it can do is it can help with skin irritations. That's a great question. Is lavender bad for a boy? So no, as long as you have pure and are confident that it's pure, lavender essential oil, it's not bad for boys. It's when you get the synthetic stuff from the stores that have the fillers and the synthetic oils in it, that's when you've got to be careful, because it can cause sterility and other issues. But that's true, when we put anything synthetic in our bodies, right? Our bodies aren't made to deal with synthetic compounds. And so you just really want to be careful what you're putting in, and especially on our kids. So as long as you get the pure therapeutic grade essential oil, lavender should be fine for boys. So aside from the relaxing part, it is really good for skin irritations. And that's actually how we got introduced to Young Living. So our now 2-year-old was about 4 months old and had some skin irritations. Absolutely, you're welcome. And we had tried so many things, and nothing was helping with his skin irritations. And so finally, somebody at our church came and said, hey, you should look at these. Now, this was somebody I worked with. I was a youth pastor for a while. And when she first started talking about essential oils, I thought, man, you're crazy. This stuff is just woo, and I just dismissed her. But after several weeks, my kid wasn't getting any better. The skin irritations were getting worse, and my wife was like at the end of her rope. And so finally, she said, you know what? Come with me to a class. Somebody's there who's got a kid with skin irritations too, and we'll see what they can say. And so they put some oils on our son. And I'm telling you, the next day, he was already starting to heal. It was amazing, and it was within a few days that his skin irritations were all just about cleared up. And now at 2 years old, you never would have guessed that he had any skin issues. So lavender can be really beneficial for the skin. It can also be really good for emotional balance. So people who have a hard time being emotionally balanced can use this to help clear that up, provide some stability emotionally. And also, I like this part, some people have used lavender to help keep the creepy crawlies away. So you're out, you want to keep them off you. Some people have found that, lavender is great to keeping them away from you. And then it also supports a healthy immune system, and as well as healthy skin just in general. So there's a lot of great uses that lavender has. And so definitely go out and research it. Again, there's some things I can't say because I'm regulated by the FDA to say, hey, this can cure this or this can treat that. But WebMD, go look it up. Lavender, find out what WebMD says lavender can do, and you'll get some very specific things that it can be used for. But now I want to switch for a minute and talk about how to use it. So it's great. There's a lot of ways to use it. Just like the peppermint and most essential oils, you can use it aromatically, you can use it topically, and you can ingest it. You can eat it or have it as part of tea or something that you're making. So when you think about aromatically, you can diffuse it. Of course, I mentioned last night, the Young Living has some great diffusers, a number of them, and they do a little bit different thing depending on which one you get, but just getting it into the air is really good. And one of the things I love about diffusing is that it's not just beneficial for one person. I mean, I can put lavender on my skin, I get around somebody, they're going to benefit from it. But like when I'm in my home and I have the diffuser going, everybody who's in the room benefits from that oil, not just me and the person next to me. So it really helps to to share that benefit with so many people by using the diffuser. But again, aside from diffusing, you can put it on your hands. You can inhale it like I showed you last night with the peppermint. We put lavender actually in our baths. So I mentioned last night we put peppermint. Actually, the combination we use is peppermint and lavender. A couple, 3 or 4 drops of each, and then we get in the bath. And man, it just is so soothing and relaxing. Gets you ready for bed. Helps with your skin. Oh, it's just we love using that mixture in our bathtub. But topically is really important as well. Now, I want to give you a caution from a topical perspective. Essential oils in general can dry out the skin a little bit. So I know it's oily. You would think, man, how are oils going to dry out the skin? But the way they work, and some of them have just natural alcohols in them. Lavender, that's some of the chemical component that it does. Don't worry, it won't intoxicate you or anything like that. But because of that, it evaporates and it can dry out your skin. And so a lot of times what's recommended is to mix these oils with carrier oils like coconut oil or the V6 oil available through Young Living, those kinds of things. And what that does is it helps to cut down a little bit, aside from diluting the oil, but it also helps to cut down on the dryness and helps to actually moisturize your skin a little bit. So that can be really beneficial. If you have really sensitive skin, I was talking to somebody last night after the class who has extremely sensitive skin. I would recommend mixing any oil with a carrier oil to begin with, just to see how you're going to react to it, and then you can mess with how much you dilute it, just to see. So just things to be aware of as you're using oils in general. But with skin irritations, we'll start with that. You can just put it directly on it. People I've talked to said, "Oh, doesn't it hurt?" And I thought the same thing. I remember, I had some skin issues, and my wife was like, "Hey, go get the lavender oil." I was like, "No, let me go get the Neosporin instead," because I thought, man, this stuff is going to hurt. And let me tell you, I started putting it on, just for about everything. And lavender oil does not hurt. It doesn't sting. It's not like putting peroxide on your skin or anything. It actually is really soothing. So if you've got some sort of skin irritation, whether your kids have it or you have it, man, pull out that lavender oil. It does a lot of good for that. You can also use it if you don't want to put it on the skin, on the irritation directly, put it on your feet. The skin on your feet isn't quite as sensitive in most people, and so you can just put it there. And the great things about the oils is no matter where you put it on your skin, it's going to get into your system and it's going to get to where it needs. Typically what we find is that in order for the oils to get into your system, it takes about 3 to 5 seconds or so to actually soak through your skin and start getting into your blood system. And within some estimates I've seen are as low as 20 minutes. Some estimates I've seen are as high as low as 5 minutes, as high as 20 minutes. So somewhere between about 5 and 20 minutes, that oil has impacted every cell in your body just with one drop. And normally, we recommend putting 1 to 2 drops on if you're dealing with something. So it's very quick to get into your system. It impacts everything. Your body does with it what it needs. So you don't have to worry about, do I put it up here? Do I put it down there? Where do I put it? Don't worry about it. Just put it. And your body will do with it exactly what it needs to do. And that's, again, true with any of the essential oils. Some of the things that I like to use essential lavender for is I put it actually across my forehead and across my nose. I mentioned doing that with peppermint. Don't do that with peppermint, but lavender is okay. It's not a hot oil. It doesn't have some of the same impacts on muscles and relaxing that the peppermint does, but it does actually help to open up sinuses, and my wife uses it in this case as well. So that really helps. If you have problems with being able to breathe as we head into spring, you know what I'm talking about there. Just pull out the lavender, put a little bit across your forehead, rub it across the bridge of your nose and your sinuses, across your cheekbones, and it'll just open you right up and help make sure that you have healthy sinus function as we get into the spring here. And then ingesting. So let me just pause here and say I have not eaten lavender yet. So let me go back. So Heather, you're asking, how do you know which oils are hot? So there's different reference guides that you can get. Also, if you look on the Young Living site, it tells you whether this is a hot oil or not, and some usage recommendations. So just be really careful as you use them. With any oil, because different people react different ways to oils, it's always good to test before you go lathering stuff on. So if it's new oil, you haven't used it yet, just play with it and see what your reaction is going to be to it. I know for me, peppermint, when I first started using it, didn't really feel hot to me. But wintergreen did, and wintergreen's actually not a hot oil. So, and my wife was like, "Oh no, wintergreen's fine for me, but peppermint, really feels kind of warm and it's really nice." So, just different people react differently to different ways. So, Melissa, you're asking, do you always have to diffuse lavender, or can you just use it topically? Either way, you can use it topically, you can diffuse it, you can ingest it, whatever your preference is. And so, part of it is just a question of what are you trying to use it for? And so if you're just trying to use it for yourself, some people want to put it on because there is some benefits to actually putting it on your skin and letting it get into your blood system that way, compared to diffusing it. Now, diffusing it, it still gets in there, but it's not as concentrated because you didn't put it on your skin. It's in the air. It's also usually mixing with some water, and so it just is a little bit more diluted, but still has some great effects. If you want to share it with people who are coming over, you're having maybe kids over or family over, you want a peaceful, calm type of environment, you might want to diffuse it as opposed to put it on. Most people aren't really sensitive to lavender. Some people may be, so just be cautious. But most people are pretty good with it, and so it's not something that you would be really concerned with. Yes, Heather, all of the oils are in the reference, the desk reference guide. And so for those of you who don't know what that is, there's a company called Life Science Publishing that offers a desk reference guide that is, it's huge, and it goes through every oil that Young Living offers, and it helps you figure out what oils to use for what things, as well as some of the things that you need to know. It also has the chemical composition of the oils, which is fantastic. So that's part of my research as I go through and prepare for these classes, knowing that lavender has phenol in it, lavender has D-limonene in it. So would definitely recommend that desk reference guide. And Heather, if yours is on back order, they also have an app for both iPhone and Android that is not quite as good as the big desk reference guide, but it's like the pocket version of it. And I think that app on iTunes was $6.99, somewhere in that ballpark. So if you don't want to wait for that to come in, you can always go pick up that as well, just in case you want to do that. So getting back to the lavender, the last thing is you can ingest it, as I was saying. I've never eaten lavender, so I've got to actually experiment with this a little bit. Some of the things that you can do, you can use it in teas, maybe with some a little bit of peppermint, a little bit of lavender, a little bit of organic raw honey. Mix that together, might be a really nice tea to help you relax. You can also, some of what I've been looking at in terms of recipes is it can be great in baking. It can be great actually complementing some meats and things like potatoes made in certain ways. And so what I would recommend is if you're interested in using lavender for cooking, go to Pinterest and just look up, just look up the recipes that people have out there. Lots of people do cooking and various things. My family, we're not quite as adventurous, so we're trying to get there, but we haven't used a lot of the oils for cooking yet. So, but there's lots of things out there on the internet for how to use oils in cooking. Again, let me just caution you, if you're going to use an oil for cooking, make sure that you're not putting it in when you're actually baking your stuff, because if an oil gets to a high temperature, then it's going to change the chemical composition of that oil. It's not going to provide the same health benefits that it would if that hadn't have happened. Part of why these oils are called oh gosh, now I can't remember. You know what? I'll find out, and I'll come back and talk about this again tomorrow, how these oils are and why heat is actually really impactful to them. But so just be careful where you use them and how you use them in terms of baking when you add them into your recipes. But Young Living's website on their blog has a bunch of recipes that you can use. Lots of people have blogs out there with recipes and how to use the essential oils for cooking and baking and those kinds of things. So if you just go out, like I said, Pinterest is a great source for that. There's lots of things there, so enjoy your evening now going and looking for recipes for lavender. So that's all I wanted to say on lavender. Let's see. I had put it in my hot coffee. Yeah. So normally what I do, I mentioned yesterday, I'll boil water and I'll put oils in there. Sometimes it's peppermint, sometimes it's ginger. But what I'll do is I'll let it sit for about as long as I would let tea steep, and then go ahead and add the oil. And by that time, it's still warm. It's actually warm enough that you can mix in some honey if you want to, but it's not warm enough to damage the oil at that point. So just make sure you let it sit for a few minutes. That way, you're not messing that that up. And Heather, I'd love for you to share with us what that was like having peppermint in your hot coffee. I've not tried peppermint in my coffee yet. I did in hot chocolate once, but not yet coffee. So I'll have to give that one a go. But so we are at about 25 minutes right now. I want to go ahead and wrap up, but I want to leave time for a couple of things. So one, if you've got any other questions that haven't been asked, now would be a great time. Go ahead and comment those in. I would love to answer those for you. Also, if you tried anything new today with peppermint after yesterday's class, would love to have you comment in either now or after we stop recording. Share your stories with us. What did you use it for? What did you find in terms of its impact on you? Part of this 14-day challenge is not just to come and learn, but we want you to play with the oils. These things are great and they're so much fun. So get them out, put them on your hands, rub them all over, see what it does. Whether you found that, man, the peppermint was a little bit hot, or man, this lavender really is relaxing. We want to hear those stories. So man, go test them, play with them, come back and work for it. So Heather asked, is lavender, does it work on all the body systems? Perfect. Oh man, here we go. So Heather, to your question about lavender, it impacts every cell in your body. Now, the different oils do different things for different systems. And what I can tell you is that lavender does support a number of different systems in your body. Does it support everything? You know, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not intimately familiar with the entire physiology of the human body and how it interacts. What I can tell you is that what science is using more and more, or finding more and more, is that every system in your body is really related to every other system. And so if you do something that impacts and supports one system, it probably is going to have an impact on other systems, if not every system in your body. It may not be direct. It might just be that, you know, hey, lavender helped this one system, and because that one system is working better, now other systems are working better. You know, we don't always know that, but it is just overall good. So I hope that answered your question for you. And then Melissa, you asked, oh, you guys use peppermint and RC all the time for allergies, and it works wonderfully. Perfect. I'm glad that you found success opening up your sinuses using those. And then Antel, you wrote peppermint and lemon in hot water for sore throat. Oh yeah. Add a little bit of honey into that is actually really good. Some organic raw honey. If you can get local organic raw honey, that's even better because that has pollens in it from the area, which is good for your immune system. So that really helps as well. And then Jill, you wrote that you use peppermint to wake up during studying. Yeah, that's. Oh, I'm curious how you use it to wake you up, but it can be really good for waking up. Absolutely. Yes, Jill, lavender for a peaceful night's sleep. You know, actually tonight we were putting our kids down. We put 3 oils on our kids every night. Lavender, I think, is the only one that we are going to cover in this class, but we use lavender, and we use an oil called cedarwood, and we also use an oil called peace and calming. And those 3 put together, we put them on their feet. Is what we've started doing over the last few nights, and it's just a few minutes and they're out. So we love those oils. All right, let's see. Heather, which oil was it that they said at the brain conference to use on the back of the neck to open up? Oh my gosh. Thanks, Sharon. I appreciate the compliment. Heather, I'm not sure. You might put on the back of your neck to open up the brain cells. You know, let me check with my wife, if she got that down in her notes. I'll go back and look in my notes as well, just to see what's there and if I can find out what that was to open that up. If I can't find it, what you might want to do is reach out to Shannon Hudson. She's here on Facebook, and she might be able to answer that for you. That or Dr. Kelly Milano, there we go, might also be able to answer that. So perfect. All righty. And I'm just reading a couple of the comments here. Diffuse the peppermint, yep, and lavender dark, yep. And then all 3, yep, and Antel, honey, yeah, honey is fantastic. You know, I've actually, yes, it was cedarwood. I've used honey for so many things now. We actually have started moving through trying to get away from sugars and artificial sweeteners in our household. You know, the thing about wellness is oils are fantastic, but there's so much more that goes into proper wellness. If you've been to any of the local conferences or classes here in the Flint, Fenton, Brighton area, then you know that health is so much more than just, you know, putting some oils on your body. You got to be, you know, drinking your water. You got to be looking at what you eat. You know, all of that is really important. For me, if you are a coffee drinker, which I am, and thank you, I know it's not the best thing for me. I still love my cup of coffee in the morning, but I've moved away from sugar or artificial sweeteners or anything like that. And actually, I just use some raw honey now. And that mixed in with your coffee is actually really, really good. So if you haven't tried that and you're a coffee drinker like me, can definitely encourage you to do that. Perfect. And then Sharon, you read about the peace and calming is wonderful with lavender. Yep, absolutely. Yep, and if you haven't tried it, I mean, if you're somebody who enjoys baths or even a shower, you know I need to post the recipe for the shower bomb on our Facebook page. You know, put some lavender on that when you take a shower if you shower before bed. Now, I don't recommend doing that necessarily before you go to work because you might be a little bit drowsy, but you know it'd be good before bed. Shoot with the oil in your water. Yeah, absolutely, Heather. Fresh fruit with oil in your water, absolutely. You know, of course, I would recommend organic fruit if you eat that over non-organic, just because the non-organic you're going to have pesticides and stuff like that. What I can tell you is if you put oils in your water with fruit, if there's any contaminants either on your glass or on the fruit, some of what some oils will do is help separate that out, and so you might start noticing some stuff floating around on your water. And so just, you know, be aware if you put that in there and you see some stuff floating in your water, that might be what you're seeing there. So just a word to the wise. In fact, when we first started using oils, we were only using glass, but I thought I had a clean glass and it looked clean. I put some water in it, put some lemon in it, which we'll actually be talking about tomorrow. And a few minutes later, I looked down and I'm like, oh, this is really gross because it wasn't fully clean. So just be aware that that's some of what oils can do for you. So great questions. Good. Well, again, I appreciate everybody being here. As we wrap up, I have a few requests for you. So one, when you know something good, you got to share it. So definitely, if you have enjoyed these videos, share them with your networks. Invite people that you know to come and join us, either through the live sessions at 9 o'clock here or through the recorded sessions. We've had over 100. Last time I looked, it was about 120 views of last night's video. So thank you for getting out there and sharing that. But also, you know, if you are not a Young Living member and you're here and you haven't chimed in, I want to make sure that we invite you to experience these oils directly. So you can call Kim and I. We'd love to chat with you. Our phone number is 810-207-5115. Or if you were invited here by somebody who's already connected into Young Living, give them a call and find out if you can meet up, if you can, you know, experience some of these oils. We want to make sure that these are impacting people's lives because we have found in our home that these have absolutely transformed our lives. They've transformed the lives of so many people that we know, and we just want to make sure that people find out, that you love it, that you share it, and that you see what great stuff God has created to help us have healthy, well lives that are full of purpose and abundance. So that's just my little ending for tonight. So thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you being here. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Tomorrow's topic is lemon. No, I will not be drinking lemon tomorrow, and you'll find out why. So come join us tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody.